Hi, my name is Barry Sterling Mitchell. I produce the Sterling Net Point Power Rankings and the Bias Plus Reports. Today is November 26, 2025, and this is Ben and Barry on football.
What's going on out there, everybody? This is your co-host. I am Ben Dickerson. Proud to report that week 12 was pretty good for me. I was 65%. So I'm climbing every week. Talk about over the last 3 weeks, like we do with the rankings. I went from 50% to 65% over the last 3 weeks. So I'm hoping to keep climbing. I'm doing a lot better, and I'm still kicking myself for some of the picks that I made, like taking the Buccaneers over the Rams. But I'm not going to embarrass. I'm not going to embarrass myself any further there.
Ben, the Bias Plus Report was on a heater this past weekend.
Okay.
A heater. Up until the Eagles game, right? Not including the Eagles game. I was 10 for 11.
Oh,
I missed the Eagles game,
okay.
but I
10
got
for 12.
the Rams and the Niners. That's rounded up 86%.
That's insane. That's insane.
0.857143.
You know, if the numbers work that well all the time,
Oh my goodness.
you'd be making a whole lot of money right now.
Oh, geez. And I'm not even a gambler. I would have to figure it out. It'd be like, okay. I'm
Yeah,
sure
if you
this,
could consistently, that's
well,
crazy.
even a plus, the 60s. And I text you today because when I was listening to Colin Cowherd, he has this flaming five or whatever, and he's like, I was 60%. And I was like, oh, that must be good then, right? So we're
Yeah,
60%.
he was real proud of himself, wasn't he?
Oh, wasn't he though? He was patting
So
himself
I'm
on
like,
the
dude, I'm 65. Now what?
now what?
You know?
You know what I'm saying? If I drop below 60, I'm wondering what the problem is.
Yeah.
But in any event, yeah. I was on a heater, man. I was like, gee, Christmas. And had the Eagles. What can I tell you? What can I tell you? The numbers favored them. So we're gonna do the Bias Plus report. What the Bias Plus report does is it takes the Sterling Net Point Power Rankings and it uses them in the matchups. So the bottom line is it ranks the Sterling Net Point Power Rankings ranks teams by net points. The team with the highest net points in a matchup will usually be favored. And that's all that we're saying here. We don't know who's going to win, but this is a way to objectively determine a matchup, who's favored in a matchup. So my numbers are pure objective, not objection. If you want objections, go over to Ben. He usually has a few, along with
Every week,
conjecture, along with conjecture, and what's the other one?
lots
Opinion.
of opinion.
Lots of opinions. So you're going to get it all. You'll get the straight stats and you'll get the conjecture and the opinion right here with Ben and Barry on football. You ready to kick this thing off, Benny?
Yes, sir.
Directly to him. All right, Benny. So what I didn't get a chance to do in the last show was to just say Happy Thanksgiving to everybody. Enjoy your Thanksgiving football. It is going to be an absolutely amazing week with football, day by day by day. We're going to talk about it all. So, how you like that little guy right there, Benny?
Yeah, football for a tail. Football's for a tail. That's pretty good. But yeah, this is a big weekend for football. We got what, three tomorrow? We got a Black Friday night game, and then everything else on Sunday, and we still got a Monday night, right?
And we still got a Monday night. Yes,
Wow.
yes. So,
Wow. If you love football, baby, this is it.
this is it. If you love football. All right. First up, first game we're going to take a look at Packers at what a way to kick it off. Packers at Lions. Bias plus score of 2.4, Benny, less than a field goal favors the Lions. At least they are home. And if you look at the stats right below, you'll see that the Packers are ranked 8th in net points. Lions are 5th. Only a couple silly net points between them, and 0.1 difference between them in terms of turnover differential. So when you add it all up, 2.4 is the bias favoring the Lions. What do you got?
Okay, so it is tradition that the Lions play on Thanksgiving and that they play at home. So they're always at home on Thanksgiving Day. So
Okay.
let's talk about the visitors first. That would be the Packers sitting at 7-3-1, also in the same division, that NFC North. Jordan Love had a pretty easy day at home against the Vikings last Sunday. The run game pushed the Minnesota defense all over the damn going field, even without Josh Jacobs, who's out with a bruised knee. His backup, Emmanuel Wilson, came in and had a tremendous game, went over 100 yards rushing, along with the defense that didn't allow Minnesota to get anything going. 3 turnovers, 5 sacks, and 7 tackles for loss. Did a great job. Minnesota's in a little bit of trouble. The Lions looked like they were still a little shell-shocked from their loss to the Eagles back in week 11. In fact, they never held a lead in regulation of their game against the Giants and had to go to overtime with the Giants to finally get the win. The Lions' offensive scoring machine seems a little bit clunky right now, but they stuck with their run game. That kept them close, and ultimately they pulled out the win thanks to Jahmyr Gibbs. This game coming up with the Packers, I would consider a must game for the Lions. Might not be might not have been a must win if they had won a couple of games a couple of weeks before that they shouldn't have lost, but I digress on that. It is a must win. They need to overtake the Packers, and they also need to keep pace with the Bears. That being said, and the fact that it's them at home, I got to go with the Lions in this one.
All right, going with the bias. Going with those Detroit Lions. Man, I tell you, that running back trio, duo they got. And I was listening to one guy and they were talking about who's a really fast receiver that they have. Jameson Williams or something like that.
Jameson Williams.
How he has not been getting the ball.
No.
And I guess that comes especially out of you fantasy guys, because you're looking like, hey, this guy's giving me no points here. And he's like tremendously talented. So they'll have to figure out that part of it. But it's not like they don't have talent to go around. All right. Next up, Benny. Woo! Chiefs at Cowboys. Bias plus score of 8.4 favors the Chiefs. The Chiefs, Benny, that dangerous team, ranked 6th in net points, whereas the Cowboys are ranked 17th. And so much we know about the Cowboys' challenges is defensively. As you can see, for the season ranked, they were 31st. They're giving up 28.5 points. They have improved recently. And so that's something that we have to keep an eye on. Chiefs average points against ranking is 4. So they're pretty strong there. The Cowboys offensive ranking is 4. And the Chiefs defensive ranking is 4. The Cowboys putting up 29 points and the Chiefs allowing 18.3. And the Chiefs have the edge in terms of turnover differential. So bias plus score 8.4 favors the Chiefs.
Okay, Chiefs will be the visitors. Yes, they came from behind to beat the Colts 23-20 in overtime. Yes, it qualifies as a great win because they were down 20-9 in the fourth quarter. And what wasn't so great was the fact that they were down 20-9 in the fourth quarter. Some of that scariness is starting to wear off. They did pull out the win, though. They struggled in the red zone, only scoring 1 touchdown, and they kicked 4 field goals in regulation. That kept them close. Then they kicked the 5th one in overtime to win it. Thank goodness for Harrison Butker, who basically kept them in the game, got them into overtime, and then won it all single-handedly.
Hey Benny,
Mm,
that almost
yes.
sounds like a case for take the points.
Oh, yeah. Well, I mean, most of their situations were no-brainers, though. I mean, sometimes positioning on the field means something and sometimes it doesn't, or it means the other, you know. Sometimes you in a position on the field and you realize that we got to take the field goal here. Sometimes it's questionable. And then when it becomes questionable, you have to think about how's my offense looking today? Well, they weren't looking good at all. Like I said, they were down 20-9 in the fourth quarter. So yeah, you kick the field goal. Uh Cowboys. Oh, Cowboys also had a come from behind victory, but it was over the Philadelphia Eagles in the NFC East. Didn't help that they turned the ball over twice and they found themselves down 21-7 to start the second half. What did help was they kept their offensive balance. They had almost equal run attempts and passing attempts, which is great balance on your offense. They forced and recovered a fumble, scored points on 3 of their 7 second half drives while keeping the Eagles scoreless. No brainer on this one for me, as it might be for some people. Cowboys at home and surging should beat the Chiefs. I'm going to take the Cowboys.
Going against the bias, going with the Cowboys over the Chiefs. Well, yeah, do the Chiefs have corners that can handle the Cowboys' number one wide receiver and number one A wide receiver?
You're asking me if they do?
Yeah.
Well, they had a little trouble with the Colts receivers. So if you like
Okay.
Pickens and Lamb over Pittman and Pierce, I'd say no.
Okay. All right. That works. That works in your favor in terms of your pick. Okay, there. Next up, Bengals at Ravens. Bias plus score 13.9 favors the Ravens, Benny, but they don't know about Joe Burrow coming. Bengals are ranked
Well,
30th in net points. Ravens are ranked 14th. That's minus 10.2 for the Bengals and plus 1.3 for the Ravens.
yeah. Let me get my soapbox out for Joe Burrow real quick. Number one, it looks like he's going to be okay to play. It's not 100%. I don't think he's actually been named the starter, but most likely that will happen tomorrow. Um,
Actually, I
Number
think
one,
he has been named a starter.
okay, that's good. Number one, it's his team, it's his offense. Number two, he wants to play, and evidently the doctors have said it would be um, not a good probability. It's not a good probability that he can make the injury worse. He's got some form of turf toe, but as we learned earlier in the season, there's all different kinds of turf toe. Some are worse than others, and all that stuff. Uh, Number three, he wants to play. Number four, they have an outside chance of making the playoffs. It's an outside chance, but they do have a chance. And let's remember, the Ravens are on a do or die tour themselves at 6-5. Bengals are 3-8. But the way they're playing, well, I can't say anything bad about the way the Ravens have been playing. Now I'll get to them in a second. Um, but the way the Steelers are playing, somebody's got to watch out the Bengals could sneak in there. But anyway, at this point, running back Chase Brown is the most consistent player on the Bengals offense. But he can't counter Joe Flacco's inefficiency and the non existent defense. Flacco's been on a downer the last 2 weeks, and we all know about their problems on defense. The Steelers put them away pretty easy, 34-12. There's a good chance Joe Burrow will be back Thanksgiving night, like we said. Uh, Also, there's the other Joe Burrow factor of how the rest of the team may act or may raise their game emotionally by the fact that Joe Burrow is back. That can't be overlooked. In football, that's a real thing. Uh, some people may say, oh, their defense is so bad it won't matter. Still remains to be seen. But, I give them an opportunity to do something with Joe Burrow in there. Flacco's magic is obviously run out. Now, the Ravens handled the Jets pretty easy, 23-10. Got to give my Derrick Henry counter. 23 touches, 88 yards, 2 touchdowns. 2 touchdowns is great. 88 yards isn't a lot, but 23 touches means they had the ball, and they had the ball quite a bit. The defense had 2 takeaways. They smothered the Jets' offense on the ground and through the air, so those guys really had no chance. Now, after saying all that great stuff about Joe Burrow, I got to go with the Ravens. Sorry.
That's hilarious. After saying all of that, Benny? Going with the bias, going with the Ravens. Yeah, that defense is I don't want to bet anything on them guys. All right, next up. Friday night game there, Benny. Bears at Eagles. Bias plus score. You ready for this? 1 favors the Bears.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, the Bears are ranked 18th in net points at minus 0.3, and the Eagles are actually 11th at plus 2.7. But Benny, you're talking about a full turnover differential better than the Eagles, 1.5 versus 5. And when your difference is as small as it can be there, the turnovers can change everything in terms of the
That's right.
score. And so consequently, due to turnovers and the Bears' ability to get them, they are favored over the Eagles at home. Eagles at home in the link. What you got?
Both teams sitting at 8-3. This should be a really good contest. Now, the Bears right now are on a hot streak. They've won 8 of their last 9 games. And they outdueled the Steelers 31-28 last week. So that was a big win for them. Caleb got off to a slow start, but then he turned it over. During the slow start, I don't want to get ahead of myself. He turned it over twice in the first half, but then he got it going in the second half. He threw for 239 yards and 3 touchdowns. Let me just say this. You got to remember, the Bears have only beaten one team with a winning record. And when they played the Lions and the Ravens, they got shellacked. So just keep that tucked away in the back of your mind. Now, the Eagles came out throwing and seemed to do everything extremely well in the first half last weekend. They ran out to a 21-0 lead in the second quarter, and they finished up the half 21-7, at which point the wheels fell off. They punted 4 times. 2 of them were 3-and-outs. Jake Elliott missed 2 field goals, and Saquon Barkley coughed up a fumble. 14 penalties for 96 yards hurt them tremendously. You could talk about the OC. You could talk about what Hurts is doing. You could talk about AJ complaining. If you get penalized 14 times for darn near 100 yards, you got problems. You got problems.
I'm glad you mentioned this, Benny, because I have not heard people talk about the penalty factor with the Eagles. They're talking about AJ and Barkley and all and Hurts, but they haven't really talked about that. That's a big thing. And now, do you point more to the OC or who you or just they got reserves in there and they're just not clicking?
Well, obviously the offensive line isn't as strong as it was last year. However, yeah, okay. So I got to give Barkley a little bit of slack because of the offensive line woes, but he's not running the same way that he was running last year either. So all the people that thought it was funny to run up to me at the gym and say, thanks for Saquon. Well, you're welcome for that 1 year. How about that? Now, got that off my chest. AJ obviously is not the problem. What he was saying was a problem for the team and a big deal for the media. But it wasn't so much that he was, yeah, it started out with him sounding like he was just crying for the ball, but it was actually more than that. And now we're starting to see all these other problems arise. I have to blame this on the head coach. It's the same way as when people talk about the Giants saying they get these leads and then they lose them. They got beat from behind 4 times. Get rid of the DC. Well, if you see this happening and you're the head coach and you don't make the adjustment, you don't step into his meetings and say, dude, we got to do something so that this doesn't happen anymore. You got to get rid of the head coach. As far as I'm concerned, Sirianni's on the hot seat. He's on my hot seat. He might not be on Jeffrey Lurie's hot seat, but he's on my hot seat. If they lose this game, it's going to be it's going to be a mess. It's really going to be a mess. And I tell you the truth, if they press, which I think they might do, especially in front of the home crowd, get a couple penalties, maybe a turnover or two, and the Boo Birds come out, this game could go really wrong for the Eagles. I believe that all in all, they are the better team. But all season long, I could have said that on darn near every game, and they have not played like it. I'm going with the bias. I'm taking the Bears.
Oh, going with the bias, going with the Bears. Oh man, we will have our popcorn ready for this one.
And if a turnover turns out to be the difference, oh my goodness.
Oh my goodness, I know. All right, here we go. Next up, Cardinals at Buccaneers. Benny, bias plus score of a measly 1.7. It's the Buccaneers, Benny. Cardinals are ranked 22nd in net points at minus 3.2. Bucks are 19th at minus 2.3. The Bucks have the edge, though, in turnover differential. Long story short, Bucks are better in both areas and have that slim margin favoring them. So, what do you got? Oh, Benny, they're home, so
yes.
you could hear a cannon or two.
I hope for their sake it's more than a cannon or two. But yeah, 6 cannons for a touchdown, 3 cannons for a field goal. So the Cardinals, it's been a strange year for the Cardinals. They're only 3-8, but to my recollection, they seem to play really tough, especially on the defensive side, even when offensive things aren't going well. And they seem to be in most of their games. I don't remember where they're ranked in points against, but I got the feeling that it's not too bad. I don't remember them getting blown out. Maybe they did once or twice. But anyway.
So you're talking about which team now?
The Cardinals.
Cardinals, points against 24th.
Right. 24th?
Yeah.
And where are they in points for?
19.
That's weird.
Yeah, I know.
So
Bucks
they
are
had
14th in points for, but the Bucks are 25th in points against.
Yeah, well, to me, I don't know. I've been watching the Cardinals, and I've been watching their defensive ranking in fantasy, and they're always in the games for a little while before they pull close and lose, or they just fall off and lose bad. But anyway, this game kind of was a microcosm of what I just said. Jacoby Brissett threw for 317 yards and a touchdown. That's great yardage. He's pretty efficient. The defense had 4 takeaways. Unfortunately, the Cardinals, with a chance to get a home victory over the Jaguars in overtime, failed to convert on 4th and 4, trying to continue a drive for a winning touchdown near the end of the game, and ended up losing the game. So they were right in it, right up to the end, and then lost it on a turnover on downs. That's what I'm talking about.
Right.
Now, the Bucks got splattered by the Rams, and Baker Mayfield left the game with a sprained AC joint on his non-throwing shoulder. I'm not sure what his injury situation is right now. I would hope that he would be able to play. I get the feeling that he will get out there because he's a gamer, but we'll have to wait and see. Now, things are getting really tight in the NFC South. Another reason why I'm sure Baker's going to want to play. And this game here looks more and more like a must-win for the Bucs. Good news is, I believe I said this last week, and I turned out to be wrong. I think Bucky Irvin's going to actually come back this weekend. So if Bucky Irvin comes back this weekend, that'll be a big boost for them in the run game, which makes things a little bit easier for Baker. And if that happens, I would expect the Buccaneers, even if that doesn't happen, I still expect the Buccaneers to win this game.
All right, going with the bias, going with the Buccaneers. Now, Benny, the Cardinals, what's the name of the Cardinals quarterback?
Jacoby Brissett.
With Kobe. They were saying this is his like sixth team.
Okay.
He's been around, I tell you.
Oh, there's big guys been around more than him.
Well, but he's been around. He's pretty consistent. He actually looked pretty good, and they seem to like him better than, you know.
Yeah, he's a backup. He usually ends up on teams that end up really needing him. He's not one of them backups that, you know, the starter goes down and you go, who's their backup? And then you say his name and they go, okay. You know, he's played well for the most part individually. I'm not saying he's translated into a lot of wins, but he's played well for just about everywhere he's been. He wasn't doing bad when he was on the Chargers till that guy gave him that injection and punctured his lung. That's the one thing he's known for. But yeah, wherever he turns up, he's usually pretty reliable. So the fact that he's been on 6 teams and he's been, you know, forced into contests and held his own for the most part, tells me that he's a really smart guy. He can pick up a system pretty quickly, and he can operate in just about any offensive scheme that any NFL team has out there.
Best job in the NFL, Benny. Best job in the NFL. Back up.
If you can handle it.
If you can handle it. All right. Next up. Falcons at Jets. Bias plus score of 10.6 favors the Falcons. They're ranked 20th in net points. The Falcons are 28th. Well, about a 4-point difference there, but they're plus 0.5, whereas the Jets are minus 1.2. That's a pretty big differential. And it all affects the Falcons for right now. So what you got?
Well, let's see what happened last week. Falcons played the Saints. NFC South game, very important. Falcons are trying to hold on, try to see if they can eke out a playoff game. The highest paid backup in the game, one Kirk Cousins, threw 2 touchdown passes and helped the Falcons beat the Saints and end their 5-game losing streak. He was also a part of that 5-game losing streak, but he did help them win that game against the Saints. So we'll give him credit for that. Now, with Justin Fields benched again, Tyrod Taylor, check how many teams Tyrod Taylor's been on. Tyrod Taylor got the start against Baltimore. He managed 1 touchdown pass. They got little to nothing from their ground game, and their defense was underwhelming, for lack of a better word. It was really nothing to write home about at all. That's always going to be their undoing, no matter how well whatever quarterback they put in their plays. So I got to go with the Falcons, who have definitely, if nothing else, shown that they've got a better defense.
If nothing else, they've shown they have a better defense. Going with the bias, going with the Falcons. All right, next up, my beloved 49ers at the Cleveland Browns with the bias plus score 4.2 favoring my Niners, Benny. Now, let me do a Mark Russell for you and give you the reason why I'm scared of this game. Besides, first off, Purdy looked terrible last week throwing picks, and I did not understand at all. That's number one. Number two, um, the who's the defensive end for the Browns? Miles Garrett
Yeah,
is on a heater, like a historic heater for sacks. That's
right.
number three. I hear the weather's going to be kind of messed up with some snow, cold blowing. I don't trust Purdy in bad weather.
Uh-oh.
The more interesting thing here is that my coach Kyle Shanahan said that Shador's daddy, one Deion Sanders, was his favorite football player. He idolized Deion Sanders. Of all people for Kyle Shanahan to idolize. So he says it's going to be just a little weird, playing against his son. But long story short, the bias is the bias. Shador, it's his, second start? And he's, his last win was historic for the Browns. So Niners net points rank is 12, Browns is 25th, gives the Niners an edge. What do you got on this?
Brock Purdy did throw 3 interceptions, like you said, in the first half against Carolina. But luckily for the Niners, Carolina was only able to convert one of those turnovers into points. And those points turned out to be just a field goal. So it didn't really hurt you that much. With Christian McCaffrey accounting for 142 yards and a touchdown on 31 touches. Somebody told me at the beginning of the season he was washed. I was like, what, are you insane?
Yeah, they must have been.
Oh, he had a lot of injuries. Yeah, but he recovered from them. If he's on the field, he's a problem, and he's proven it. He's literally carrying this offense. The Niners dominated the time of possession, not to mention their injury-depleted defense stood tall, shutting down Rico Dowdle. You should be proud of that. And the Panthers' entire run game, and they grabbed 2 interceptions off Carolina. Now for the Browns, Shador Sanders finally got his first NFL start, and as far as I could tell, he handled the operation of the huddle and the operation of the offense pretty well. He looked poised, he looked smooth, poised under pressure. He moved well in the pocket. He was only sacked once the entire game. Yes, they were up against the Raiders, and they handled them accordingly. Yes, that is true. Defense was tremendous. They recorded 10 sacks along with 13 tackles for loss. They held Ashton Jeanty to 50 yards rushing, and they got Chip Kelly fired.
I was wondering when Chip Kelly was going.
Good old Chip Kelly. They brought him there to run a run-centric offense, and it's been anything but.
And answer this question and see if you agree or disagree. I think Ashton Jeanty needs a serious fullback.
I don't know if that's the answer, but it could be.
I see him get when he doesn't move people in the NFL like apparently he was in college. I think he was able to use his power and get around people and slip through them and all of that. He gets stood up in the NFL. He hits a guy and stops. Now, unless he can slip him for some reason, he stops. So I'm just saying, I think fullback just to give him that little extra crease, you know what I mean? That little extra power move in the first 5 yards, and he can probably take it from there, So that's my if he had Christian McCaffrey's fullback, it would be great for him. I don't want to lose my fullback, but just a suggestion.
That's a thought. I mean, even McCaffrey doesn't. Even the Niners run out of shotgun quite a bit without a fullback. But if you got it, you got it. If you don't, you don't. And looks like he don't got it. I mean, run after contact is a stat that they keep. We could look it up, but his run after contact cannot be good at all. Now, if it turns out that they employ a fullback and that gets him to the second level, and he's able to shed tackles off of linebackers and safeties, or be shifty enough to get around them or run through them or whatever, then that would mean that you're really onto something. But to me, it looks like he can't shed any kind of hits, whether it's D linemen, linebackers, or safeties. Everybody's taking him down. Not with ease, but they're taking him down. I can't remember the last breakaway run he had. I'm sure he had one, but I can't remember when it was. And they're pretty far and few in between. So, yeah. Maybe when they get a new OC, maybe that's what they'll do. Maybe they'll go to that system, to that scheme. Maybe they'll go to like 21 personnel or 22 personnel. That would help them, possibly. It can't hurt. I'll put it that way. It wouldn't hurt. Now, all that being said, I'm definitely going to go with the Niners on the road against the Browns. Bad weather and all. I think they'll be able to protect Purdy just enough to get things done. Oh, by the way, he won't have another game like that, man. All them interceptions, he won't have another game like that.
I think he's got it. I think he's got about as many interceptions as he has touchdowns right now. His touchdown interception ratio is not good. So I'm hoping you're right, though. Go Purdy. All right. Going with the bias, going with the Niners. There we go. Next up, Texans at Colts. Bias plus score of 2.7 favors the Colts, Benny. We just talked about that Houston defense. Can they put the kibosh? Now, you didn't think that your former or your defensive coordinator boy in Kansas City could put the kibosh on Jonathan Taylor, but apparently he did put the kibosh on him a little bit.
No, Shane Steichen put the kibosh on Jonathan Taylor.
Okay, is this what you're saying? Why you say that?
That's what I'm saying. Well, I'll tell you about the Texans first. They're 6-5. They're threatening big time to the Colts 8-3, sitting at the top of the AFC South. The Texans' top-ranked defense was barely top 12 in sacks. That was the one counting stat that they were down in. They are now sitting in sixth place in sacks after their 8-sack performance against the Bills last Thursday night. They kept Josh Allen on his heels the entire game, and they picked him off twice. He was a mess. They were all over him. Meanwhile, Davis Mills is now 3-0, subbing for C.J. Stroud, who should be out of concussion protocol before the week is out. Keeping our fingers crossed for C.J. Stroud.
I think he's already been named the starter.
He has been. Okay, that's great. So he's out of protocol. That's wonderful. Now, the Colts squandered a 20-9 fourth quarter lead. I talked about this a little earlier. Daniel Jones threw 2 first-half touchdowns, but in the second half, the play calling got weird, and they went almost completely away from Jonathan Taylor. Up 20-9, they went away from Jonathan Taylor. Not the Chiefs. That's the Colts. That helped the Chiefs, dragged them into overtime. And remember, when I talked about the Chiefs, I told you how they did that. Field goal, field goal, field goal, field goal. Dragged them into overtime, and then sent them 3 and out and kicked a field goal to beat them. That's coaching malpractice there, Mr. Steichen. I'm sorry. And I've been praising you, but that's terrible. If you do that again, you're definitely going to lose to the Texans. But they will be back home. They will be indoors. I think they learned their lesson. I'm going to go with the bias and go with the Colts.
They learned their lesson, man.
I mean, that was egregious. If they didn't learn a lesson from that, I don't know what needs to happen.
Any changes in your thoughts on Danny Dimes?
Nah, he's fine.
Okay. All right.
You just got to keep people off of him.
All right.
They kept people off of him in the first half, and he's having a field day.
Next up, Rams at Panthers. I think this is the biggest bias of the weekend. Bias plus score 25.1 favors the Rams. Benny, they're number one in net points. The Panthers are number 24 in net points. And my Niners kind of made Bryce Young not look too good. So, what do you got on this?
Well, mea culpa. I second guessed myself last week on the Rams Bucks game. At first, I did say the Rams, and then I hemmed and hawed, and I came back second guessed myself and went with the Bucks. Uh, I really thought it was going to be a back and forth barn burner type of game. It was the actual opposite. Matt Stafford had his way with the Bucks secondary to the point where the Rams barely had to run the ball. Much to my chagrin, because I have Kyron Williams, their running back, on some of my fantasy teams, but he did enough for me to pull out some wins. Anyway, defensively, the Rams were stellar. 2 interceptions, 4 sacks, 7 tackles for loss. No doubt in my mind, they are the best team in the NFC. Now, after a thrilling division win over the Falcons in week 11, Bryce Young and the Panthers look completely helpless against the 49ers, even with Brock Purdy completing 3 of his 32 passes to guys in Panthers uniforms. Other than the picks, the Carolina defense might well have not even got on the flight to go to Santa Clara. They gave up 340 total yards, and they got 0 sacks. This one's a no-brainer for me. I got to go with the Rams.
Yeah, this is pretty much a no-brainer, no doubt about it. Going with the Rams. All right, next up, Benny. Saints at Dolphins. Bias plus score 5.6 favors the Dolphins. Again, both teams are in the negative in terms of net points. The Saints are just more negatives than the Dolphins. What do you got on this?
Well, the New Orleans fans did a whole bunch of booing at the Superdome last Sunday as the Saints looked pretty bad against division rival Atlanta. Quarterback Tyler Shook was under constant pressure. He got sacked 5 times. He turned it over twice. In defense of the Saints' defense, however, which obviously isn't very good, they scored the only touchdown of the game for the Saints on a pick 6, but otherwise they couldn't get off the field, with the offense pitching 2 turnovers, 2 missed field goals, a 4th down stoppage, and a whole bunch of punts. So they were on the field all doggone day. And you know what happens to your defense if they're on the field all doggone day? They end up getting taken advantage of. The Dolphins are coming off the bye. Last time we saw them, they were squeaking by the Commanders 16-3. They did, however, beat the Commanders 16-3, and I think they won the game the week before that too. I kind of have the feeling last time we saw the Dolphins, they were kind of on the come up. They're coming off the bye. They had an extra week to prepare. I like the Dolphins in this one.
Okay, short and sweet. Likes the Dolphins. Going with the bias. Going with the Dolphins. All right, next up. Jaguars at Titans. Bias plus score 17.1 favors the Jaguars. Benny ranked 13th in net points as opposed to the Titans ranked 32 in net points. What do you got on this?
Jags had to dig deep to pull out a come from behind. Well, did they come from behind? I know this was a back and forth game. This game had a lot of scoring back and forth with the Cardinals last Sunday, which, again, that's why I said the Cardinals seem to be playing well in all their games, and then something would always go wrong. But anyway, Trevor Lawrence threw 3 touchdown passes, but he also threw 3 picks, and he lost a fumble, and that was returned by Arizona for a touchdown. So with all that going on, how the heck did they still win the game? Well, somehow they grabbed the lead with less than 4 minutes left in regulation. They hung on until the Cardinals kicked a late field goal. That took the game in overtime. And then they kicked one themselves, and they stopped Arizona on downs. And boom, game over. Now, the Titans, they fell behind the Seahawks 30-10 in the third quarter, then made a futile attempt at a comeback once Seattle kind of took their foot off the gas. 10 penalties and only 64 total rushing yards is not going to get you anywhere in the NFL, especially against a team with a defense like the Seattle Seahawks. So there's no wonder that they lost. The Titans are now 1-10, and I see little to no hope for these guys. I'm going to take the Jaguars, go in there and get a road win.
All right, Benny. Next up, Vikings at Seahawks. Bias plus score 14.5 favors the Seahawks. As you can see, they're ranked third in net points to the Vikings' 21st ranking. Everything points to the Seahawks here. What you got?
Well, we just talked about the Seahawks a little bit when I told you that they beat the Titans last week. Conversely, they had a really nice bounce back game from their Week 11 loss to the Rams, which was their first road loss, by the way, of the season. They've been really good on the road. Obviously, Sam Darnold played much better. He had 0 turnovers as opposed to the 4 that he had the week before. And the defense was stout as usual. So same old Seahawks. Seems like they snapped out of whatever was bothering them. Well, I shouldn't say they snapped out of it. It was the Rams. But anyway, the last thing J.J. McCarthy wanted to see last weekend was the Green Bay pass rush. They did, in fact, try to protect him from that. They ran the ball pretty well in the first half, but once the Packers opened up a 2-score lead, that was out the window, and they were in catch-up mode, and that exposed Mr. McCarthy. He was 12 of 19. He was 12 of 19 for a pathetic 87 yards, and he threw 2 picks. Are you kidding me? Defensively, they couldn't stop a nosebleed. The Vikings are in big, big trouble. Definitely taking the Seahawks in a no-brainer again, and they're at home.
Going with the Seahawks?
Going with the bias, going with the Seahawks.
Excellent, excellent. All right, next up, Bills at Steelers. Bias plus score 0.9 favors the Bills, Benny. 0.9, less than 1, separating these two AFC contenders or pretenders. Which is it?
Interesting. That's a good question. Bills had a very rude awakening down in Houston last Thursday night. That was one of the better Thursday night games if you like to see how far the mighty can fall. After scoring 6 TDs against Tampa Bay in Week 11, Josh Allen got sacked 8 times, and he threw 2 interceptions, while Buffalo's defense got trampled by the Houston Texans' ground attack. I mean, trampled. They throttled them boys. Their defense cannot stop the run. That's a fact. That is a fact. Now, as far as the Steelers are concerned, I thought Aaron Rodgers would wrap up that non-throwing wrist and start against the Bears after talking all that trash over the last who knows how many years about how he owns Chicago. But the Steelers went with Mason Rudolph instead. He threw for 1 touchdown and 1 interception, and he also lost a fumble. But the Steelers ran the ball well, and they didn't fall behind in the game until they went down 24-21 midway through the third quarter. Unfortunately, they were never able to pick it up and get back into the lead. Here's the big question. Can the Steelers pressure Josh the same way Houston did? I believe not. I believe the Bills going on the road again will take special care, and they will be able to beat the Steelers.
Going with the bias. Going with the Bills. All right, what's up next? Raiders at Chargers. Bias plus score of 11.7 favors the Chargers, Benny. The Chargers. Who's quarterbacking for the Raiders now? Did Geno quit yet or what?
No, why would Geno quit? He's not a quitter.
I heard he was giving the finger to the fans and everything else. He had to come out and apologize.
I'm not surprised. He had to be pissed off, and I know they were giving him hell, but I also know he was doing his best. He hasn't been Geno himself as a whole hasn't been terrible, considering their woes in the run game. So I'm sure he came into this season thinking, we got a healthy run game. We're going to try to be a run-centric team. I'm just going to have to throw I might have games here or there where I have to pull it out if we can't run, but we're going to try to keep it on the ground for the most part, blah, blah, blah. I'm sure that's what they fed him in the beginning of the season. I'm sure that's what Chip Kelly had in mind, but it has not worked out that way. They have now lost 9 of their last 10 games. Geno got sacked 10 times against Cleveland. They turned it over on downs twice, and they lost a fumble. You can't win like that. The run game was basically non-existent, and like I told you before, Chip Kelly got fired. That's how bad it is in Las Vegas. Now, the Chargers are coming off the bye. The last time we saw them, they were getting kicked all over the field by the Jacksonville Jaguars, 35-6. So they had a week off. Mr. Harbaugh had a chance to get things together. So I expect them to hold serve at home against a really Las Vegas Raiders team. I'm going to go with the bias and go with the Chargers.
Going with the Chargers. All right, there you go. There you go. Next up, and I believe this is the Sunday. Is this the Sunday night game?
I believe this is the Sunday night game.
Broncos at, say it with me, Benny. The Commanders. Bias plus score 13.4 favors the Broncos, though.
13.4? That's not the biggest bias?
I'm sorry?
That's not the biggest bias? I knew we had another one.
No, there was like a 25-point bias.
Yeah.
Earlier.
Okay.
But the Broncos are ranked 7th in net points. Commanders are 26. So you go from a plus 5.9 to a minus 5.5. That's a bigger differential there. And Broncos have the turnover differential in their favor. So 13.4 favors the Broncos, Benny.
So the Broncos are also coming off the bye. The last time we saw them, they were completing a statement win over the Kansas City Chiefs. Big win for them. Commanders, they're coming off the bye too. Last time we saw them, Marcus Mariota was throwing an interception in overtime that led to a 16-13 loss to Miami. Ugh. Commanders are hurting on both sides of the ball. Broncos offense is doing just enough. Their defense is wonderful. This is a no-brainer for me. Even on the road, take the Broncos.
Well, you like the Broncos anyway. You know you do.
They're my favorite AFC team.
Let me see. Denver to Washington, D.C. That's not a big West Coast, East Coast trip, is it? Well, this is Sunday night anyway. So
it's a night game anyway.
That's right. Wouldn't make a difference. There you go. All right. Speaking of night games, wrapping up the Sunday game, we move to Monday Night Football with your New York Football Giants going up to the Patriot land. New England Patriots, Bella, New York. Bias plus score 15.5 favors the Patriots, Benny. They're ranked 4th in net points. Your Giants are ranked 27th. And what more do I need to say relative to that? What do you got?
Hold on one second. I want to check a little something. Patriots. Okay, all right. New England is the home team. I want to call this a trap game, but before I do, but before I do, I'm trying to see something here. Bear with me.
Trap game, eh?
I want to call it a trap game, but you know what? I'm not going to because the following weekend, the Patriots have the bye. So they got nothing to hamper their thoughts and feelings other than the game they have coming up against the Giants. So I'm not going to call it a trap game. Anyway, I'm not saying the Giants don't have a chance, but they are 2-10. Oh, what the heck. Jameis wants to start the game and play pretty well, along with the rest of the team for the most part. Everything was great until 2:59 left in regulation. 3 minutes left in the game. when interim head coach Mike Kafka, for some strange reason, decided to go for it on 4th and goal at the Lions' 6-yard line, trying to go up 10 instead of kicking the field goal and going up 6. Let's be clear. If you go up 10, you pretty much put them away, 3 minutes left. If you go up 6, you're at least forcing them to go for a touchdown to tie, kick the extra point to win. You've been winning the entire game. But he was probably afraid of Jameer Gibbs, which I'm not. I can't fault him for that. Crazy thing is, Gibbs ended up burning them in the overtime anyway, which they got to by stalling out and kicking the field goal to tie it, where the Giants' field goal would have had them win by 3. And Gibbs went off like the first play of overtime. He went like 1,000 yards with a winning touchdown. But anyway, the Patriots were the first team to reach 10 wins after the 26-20 come from behind win over the Bengals. Even after they lost their starting left guard, which I was not aware of this until I started doing my research. They lost their left guard and their left tackle in that game. They both went out with injury. Even after that, Drake May was still productive, and it didn't hurt the ground game at all. They are my best team in the AFC. That being said, Giants don't have to go far to get to New England, but they're going to have to go really hard to get a win. I got to pick the Patriots on this one.
All right. I know that hurts your heart, Benny, but
yeah,
going with the bias, going with the Patriots. That being Monday night, that wraps up a great Thanksgiving week of football. I'm saying week because it goes Thursday to Sunday night and Monday night, rather. However, we still have a piece of business to take care of, Benny. Small piece of business, and I think you might be a bit surprised at who the Bias Plus Buster of the Week is. You want to take a guess?
Yeah, no, I'm not gonna. No, I'm not gonna guess.
No.
I want to say it's the Rams, but that's crazy. They got the buy. They had the bias.
Right. They were a favorite. They were favored.
Was it the Colts? I'm sorry. It would have been the Chiefs because the Chiefs won the game. It was the Cowboys. Yay!
Look at that teeny tiny bias buster score of 10.
I was going to say, I was looking for a big score, and there weren't any.
No. And remember, I only had 2 misses for the weekend.
Right. There weren't any big blowouts, and anything that came close to a big time win, the team that won had the bias. So, yeah, Cowboys, good job.
Cowboys got the Bias Plus Buster of the Week, Benny. Woo! All right, way to go. Good work, good work. Benny, before we wrap up, I'm going to ask you one question and see what you think. You ready?
Mm-hmm.
Michigan, Ohio State, who you got?
Ohio State.
Really? They keep talking about if Michigan wins, it's going to upset everything. All the rankings, right. Everybody's going to go crazy.
It will. It will. There's a bunch of teams. There's teams that have like 1 loss are hoping Ohio State loses. Because I think Michigan has 2 losses. And there's a bunch of really good 2-loss teams, but there's also a handful of really good 1-loss teams. So if Ohio State drops to the ranks of the 1-loss teams, there might be 1 or 2 more undefeated teams that will immediately knock one of them up to number 1. Yeah, that would really shake things up.
This is what
I don't think it's going to happen.
So I'm listening to the college stuff a little bit, Benny. I'm tuning in.
Okay.
I heard Deshaun Jackson lost his championship game also.
Oh, yeah. They're in the MEAC, right?
Yeah, I believe so. Yeah. So
Who they play? You remember?
I'm not. I know it's a black coach. So
No kidding.
yeah, it's MEAC right now, Grammy. But yeah, I forget who it was, but he lost, and better luck next time for both him and Michael Vick.
They
So
had a really good season though.
yeah, they did. They did. They really believe in Deshaun Jackson. So well, Benny, uh, as usual, as we go to end the show, we go to thanks for the following. Please leave comments and suggestions. Our hashtag is football in life. You can reach us at www.benandbarryonfootball.com. Please press the like button and the notification bell so that you can get all of the information that we have. Hey, Benny, I ran in. My dentist used to be a Denver Broncos fan. I'm like, I only know one other Denver Broncos fan in the Philadelphia area. So amazing how much football is going on around the world. And any last words?
Nah, I mean, South Carolina State beat Dell State for the
Okay.
MEAC for the MEAC
Okay.
championship.
All right.
So, but he's off to a tremendous start as a new head coach.
Yeah.
Wish him well.
I wish him well. All right. Signing off.